Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Realms, the place where you can forget about the chaos of your day and just unwind while listening to some of the most captivating Reddit stories out there. Whatever's been stressing you out, leave it at the door. Right now, it's just you, me, and some Am I the A-hole stories to make you feel better. Before we jump in, don't forget to drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. And if you're new here, welcome to Reddit Realms. I go through real Reddit stories every day. So if you like relatable, wild, or emotional tales you can cool off with, hit that subscribe button. Alright, let's get cozy and dive right in. Aita for finally snapping at my roommate for treating our apartment like a hotel. I, 27F, rent a 3-bedroom apartment with 2 roommates, Tessa, 26F, and Marina, 28F. We've lived together about 9 months. We found each other through a housing Facebook group. All of us have full-time jobs. Rent in our city is insane, so this place made sense. Things were fine at first. We weren't best friends, but we were friendly. We'd occasionally watch a show together, cook sometimes, share cleaning tasks. Basic functional adult coexistence. The issue is Tessa. When we moved in, we agreed on a few basic rules. Clean up after yourself in the kitchen. Don't leave dishes more than a day. Buy your own groceries unless explicitly shared. Guests are fine, but overnight guests should be communicated ahead of time. Quiet after midnight on weeknights. These are not strict rules, they are baseline human courtesy rules. For the first month, everything was fine. Then slowly, very slowly, Tessa stopped doing even the basics. At first, it was leaving cups in the sink, then entire pots, then pans, then coffee grounds all over the counter. Then her food trash sitting on the stove because the trash was full. It was not. She just didn't push it down. She started eating other people's groceries too. Not like maybe she thought it was shared, like my meal prepped lunch containers. I'd come home and half of one would be gone, or she'd take all the cheese I bought that was meant to last a week. We had a house meeting about that one. She apologized and cried, so I felt bad and let it go. I now realize she uses crying as a shield. Then the boyfriend came into play. Around month 4, she started dating Jake, 31M. He was nice enough the first few times we met him, but then he just started living at our apartment. I am not exaggerating. He was here 5 to 6 nights every week, cooking, showering, leaving socks and gym shoes everywhere, using our toilet paper, using our laundry machine. I swear he did entire laundry loads here multiple times a week. We asked her to talk about it. She nodded and said she totally understood and totally agreed that it was too much. Then nothing changed. At all. By month 6, I realized I was cleaning up after 2 extra adults who did not pay rent. The breaking point was small and stupid, which feels embarrassing to admit, but it was a spoon. I meal prepped soup in a big pot and left it to cool on the stove. I went to the store for literally 20 minutes. When I came back, the pot was on the counter, lid off, and there was a dirty spoon on the counter next to it. A chunk of carrot still stuck on it. The soup level was visibly lower. Tessa was sitting on the couch scrolling TikTok. Jake was in our bathroom. Neither acknowledged anything. I stood there for a minute, just staring at the spoon. I said, "Did you eat some of my soup?" Tessa didn't even look up. She just went, "Yeah, I was hungry." Not apologetic, not sheepish, not offering to replace it. Just, yeah. Something in me snapped in a way that felt very calm, not yelling, not dramatic. I said, "Do you understand that when you do things like this, you are treating me like a hotel? Like a fridge you don't stock, and a kitchen you don't clean, and a place you don't pay for?" Now she looks up, immediately defensive. "Whoa, I didn't think it was a big deal. It was just soup." "I don't understand why you're making this hostile," I said, "because it's not just soup. It's every dish in the sink. Every grocery you don't replace. Your boyfriend living here rent-free. I'm done with it." She started tearing up and said, "I just feel like I'm being ganged up on all the time." There is no gang. It's just me and the other roommate who also doesn't like living in a frat annex. She said, "What do you want? I can't be perfect. I have ADHD. I get overwhelmed. I also have ADHD. I also get overwhelmed. I still clean up my own food mess like an adult." I said, "What I want is simple. You clean up your dishes the same day. You replace the groceries you use, and Jake cannot be here more than 3 nights a week. I don't care how you remember it, schedule it, remind yourself, you live here. You're responsible for your impact. She said I was being ableist and controlling. I said, if you think basic housekeeping is ableism, then we are incompatible roommates. And that's when the crying started. Full sobbing. She accused me of attacking her character and not caring about her struggles. Jake came out of the bathroom and hugged her like I'd physically assaulted her. They acted like I was being cruel. Marina, other roommate, later told me privately that she was glad I said something because she was too exhausted to fight anymore. But now Tessa's telling mutual friends that I made her cry over a spoon and am unempathetic. I'm starting to feel gaslit by the whole situation. It was a spoon, but it was also everything else. So, AETA for finally snapping? NTA. It's never about the spoon. It's the pattern. She's hiding behind tears to avoid accountability. ADHD is not an excuse to treat shared space like a dumpster. The line, if you think basic housekeeping is ableism, we are incompatible roommates, is poetry. Boyfriend's laundry in your washer is where I personally would have evaporated out of my own body. She doesn't want roommates, she wants staff. The crying every time you ask for basic boundaries is manipulative, whether intentional or not. You didn't explode. You expressed your limits clearly. Also, 5 to 6 nights a week? That man is your roommate without paying rent. This is so common, and I have lived this exact roommate before. She does not change. Secure a paper trail and start planning your exit. She will play victim to anyone who will listen. The spoon was simply the dramatic final symbol. Our next story takes the quiet kind of resentment, the kind that builds and builds and drops it right into a wedding group chat where it absolutely does not belong. AETA for stepping down as a bridesmaid after the bride kept changing expectations. I, 29F, was asked in January to be a bridesmaid in my longtime friend Haley's 29F wedding. We've been friends since early college. Not best friends, but steady, reliable, keep-in-touch friends. I was genuinely happy for her and excited to be part of it. In February, she created a group chat with the bridal party. Me, her sister, 2 college friends of hers, and 1 work friend. Everyone seemed nice. The wedding was planned for mid-September. Reasonable timeline. At first, everything felt normal. Dress color chosen, sage green. We'd pick our own style. Shoes, nude and comfortable. Makeup, cocked hair, optional professional styling or DIY. I actually thought, wow, a low-pressure wedding? A miracle. It did not stay that way. The first shift, in April, Haley sent a long message about keeping the bridal aesthetic aligned. Basically, hair needs to be soft waves or half up, and makeup needed to be neutral, dewy and radiant. Not a huge deal, but definitely no longer optional. One bridesmaid, the work friend, has coily natural hair and said she didn't want to heat style it. Haley replied, I just want us to look cohesive. That was the first moment my stomach twinged. The bachelorette planning. In May, Haley said she wanted a 3-day weekend bachelorette trip in Nashville. Flights plus Airbnb plus shared costs came out to about $640 each before food and activities. I said I couldn't swing that on top of saving for travel to the wedding itself. I suggested a local spa day or a one-night stay somewhere nearby. She replied privately, I just want to feel celebrated for once. Everyone else gets big trips. I said I understood, but money is real. I did not go to the trip. Everyone else did. The tone in the chat shifted after that. The dresses in June, she sent us a link to the dresses she fell in love with. They were from a boutique I'd never heard of and cost $312 before tailoring. I asked if we could choose something similar from a more affordable brand. She replied, this is my dream day, and this is the dress aesthetic I always imagined. Everyone else said, that works, so I ordered it. It needed 85 of alteration. My total, $397. I tried not to think about it. The groom's sister. In July, Haley informed us that the groom's sister would be joining the bridal party. Not a problem, except she said, I want everyone to redo their dress orders to match her cut. No reimbursement, no discussion, just expectation. I said in the group chat, hey, I've already altered mine and can't afford to buy another. Can I keep the style I already have in the same color? Haley responded, I just really thought you'd care enough to make the wedding look right. I stared at that message for a long time, the straw that broke it. 2 weeks later, she sent an itinerary for the wedding day. Be there at 7:45 a.m. sharp. Hair and makeup mandatory. 170 stylist fee. Pay via Venmo by Friday. At this point, between the dress, the alteration, wedding travel, the shower, and the wedding gift I'd already bought, I had spent nearly $700 for a wedding that wasn't mine. So I called her. Not a text, a call. I said, calm, not emotional. I want to celebrate you, but the expectations keep shifting and I can't financially or emotionally keep up. I think it's best if I step down and attend as a guest. Silence. Then, I just didn't think you'd be the one to bail on me. She cried. I apologized and reiterated boundaries. She hung up. That night, she removed me from the group chat. The next morning, I woke up to a message from her sister. You made her cry the same week she was finalizing seating charts. Nice. People I haven't spoken to in years are now subtly liking passive-aggressive wedding posts implying fake friends reveal themselves before big moments. I'm still invited to the wedding, but I don't know if I'll go. I can't tell if I really abandoned her or if I finally just stopped sliding down a slope I never agreed to. So, Aita for stepping down. Update. 1 month later, I decided not to attend the wedding. I sent a card and a gift. A nice one. I didn't want this to feel spiteful. I emailed Haley directly saying I wished her well and hoped she had a beautiful day. She didn't respond. However, about a week ago, one of the other original bridesmaids called me. She stepped down too. She said once I left, the spending expectations got worse. They ended up reordering all dresses a third time because the groom's mum didn't like how muted the green looked in outdoor lighting. The Nashville Girls group chat is apparently now a stress cry circle. She said, you got out at the right time. That made me feel a lot less crazy. NTA, her weddings do not give someone the right to financially drain their friends. She didn't want bridesmaids, she wanted props. The phrase, I thought you'd care enough, would have ended it for me too. This is death by 1,000. Actually, can we just... The new bridesmaid causing a full reorder is the fact that someone else stepped down after you says everything. Hair and makeup should always be optional. Mandatory? Nope. You communicated like an adult. She responded like a child. I want to feel celebrated is not an excuse for blowing through other people's budgets. This was never about friendship. It was about control. Our next story shifts to family, the kind of holiday tension that builds slowly, quietly, and then just sits heavy on the table like something you can't ignore. Aita for leaving my parents' house early on Thanksgiving because I felt like an outsider. I, 31F, went home for Thanksgiving this year. I live about 6 hours away from my family, so I don't see them often. My parents, mid-60s, still live in my childhood home. My younger brother, Ethan, 28M, lives about 20 minutes away from them and sees them multiple times a week. He is very close with them. I used to be too, but over the past several years, I moved around for school, work, and had a long-term relationship that ended, so I'm not around as much anymore. No one did anything dramatic or cruel. It was more the feeling of being a guest in a house I once lived in. I arrived Wednesday night. The greeting was polite but not warm. My mom had clearly planned Thanksgiving with Ethan and his wife, Sarah, 27F, at the center. I don't think she meant anything by it. They just live close and are always over, so naturally they talk every day and have inside jokes and routines. But from the moment I walked in, it felt like I was interrupting something already in motion. Example, my mom had already planned the entire menu with Sarah. They had prepped half of it by the time I got there. I offered to help and my mom said, "Oh, don't worry, we've got it handled, just relax." Which sounds nice, except it left me doing nothing while they moved around each other like a well-oiled machine. I felt like a visitor watching them play house. The next morning, same dynamic. They were already cooking when I got up, talking about neighbors I don't know and inside references. I tried joining in, but every attempt I made landed flat. Either no one responded, or someone went, "Oh yeah," and moved on. Not hostile, just indifferent. At one point, my dad asked Ethan how his work project was going, and they had a 15-minute conversation full of specifics and references that I didn't understand. When I tried to update them on my job, my mom said, "That's great, honey," and immediately asked Sarah if she wanted to stir the gravy. Little things, 100 of them. At dinner, the final straw was when my mom gave everyone a toast for being there. She specifically thanked Ethan and Sarah for always helping and always being there for her. Then she turned to me and said, "And thank you for making the trip." It was said kindly, but it might as well have been, "Thank you for being a guest." After dinner, I went upstairs to the room that used to be mine, now filled with boxes and sewing supplies. I sat on the bed and just felt weirdly empty, not angry, just lonely in a place that used to feel like home. Around 8 p.m, I came down and said I was going to head back to my apartment that night, rather than stay until Friday morning as planned. I wasn't dramatic, I just said I needed to get back early. Everyone looked confused. Mom asked if I was upset. I said no, I just wanted a head start on the drive. Ethan barely looked up from his phone. Sarah said, "Drive safe." My mum walked me to the door and said, "We barely got to see you. Wish you'd stayed longer." I said, "I know." Then I left. I cried halfway home and felt stupid about crying. The next day my mum texted saying she was hurt that I left early. Ethan texted later with, "Mum's upset, you should apologize, but I don't think I did anything cruel." I just felt like a guest sitting in the middle of a family I used to be part of. Am I the asshole for leaving early without explaining what I felt? NTA. You didn't leave in anger. You removed yourself from a situation that felt isolating. This is what happens when one sibling becomes the default local child and the other becomes the visiting child. It's subtle, but it's real. You don't owe an emotional performance to make them comfortable. Your mum's toast says everything, thanking one child for belonging and the other for attendance. If you ever want to repair this, you'll need one honest, calm conversation, not an apology. Ethan texting you to apologize on command is very telling. The sewing room bedroom detail hit hard. That's how you know the emotional shift happened years ago. You're not asking to be the center, you just wanted to be part of it. Honestly, this is a grief story, not a conflict story. NTA. Our next story will return to a workplace setting, but this time it revolves around a very small misunderstanding that turned into a tense, awkward Cold War across cubicles. AITAA for reporting my coworker to our manager after he kept correcting my work in front of clients. I, 33F, work as an account manager for a commercial printing company. I handle ongoing relationships with our clients, place orders, troubleshoot files, and coordinate with our production team. I've been here almost 4 years, I'm good at my job, and I know our clients and workflows well. About 7 months ago, we hired Aaron, 29M, as another account manager. On paper, he's qualified. He worked at another print shop for 2 years. He's friendly, confident, speaks smoothly in meetings. I actually liked him at first. Something changed around month 2. He started adjusting things. Small things at first. If I was on a call and said, "But the proof should be ready Wednesday," he would say loudly across the cubicles, "Actually, Thursday afternoon is safer." If I emailed a client with the phrasing we always use, like, "We'll notify you as soon as the press check is complete," he'd forward it to me and say, "Consider using more assertive language to establish authority." He wasn't my supervisor. He wasn't asked to review me, but he acted like my coach. I brushed it off at first, then he started joining calls I was leading. Without asking, I'd schedule a check-in with a long-term client. 5 minutes into the call, there'd be a tone and suddenly Aaron's name would appear. He would jump in with, to add on what OP was saying. He interrupted me constantly, and the way he said it wasn't overtly rude, it was polite in tone, which made it harder to push back without feeling like I was being dramatic. Clients started addressing questions directly to him, even though I was their account manager. Not because they preferred him, but because he inserted himself before I could finish a sentence. The worst part, I started doubting myself. He did not improve the clarity of anything. He just rephrased it in a way that sounded more authoritative. But my actual work, it was already correct. I thought maybe I was being sensitive, so I started paying attention to specifics. Example, client, "Can you remind me what stock this will be printed on?" Me, "Yes." "It's 14-point gloss cover." Aaron jumping in, "It's a high-quality coated gloss cover stock, approximately the thickness of a greeting card." Client, Yes, okay, thanks. He didn't correct anything. He just narrated over me like a documentary voiceover. This went on for months. I tried subtle strategies, speaking more firmly, leading calls with statements instead of questions, pre-scheduling agendas. He still inserted himself. One afternoon, I had a major client presentation. I prepared for days. The meeting included our production director, the client's marketing lead, and 2 representatives from their packaging department. High stakes. 5 minutes in, Aaron joined. I messaged him privately. "Are you needed on this call?" He wrote back, "Just here to support." He immediately began jumping in to clarify things I was already explaining. He contradicted me twice on things I was correct about. I had confirmed everything with production the day before. After the call, our production director pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you were prepared. You didn't need backup. You need to set boundaries." So the next morning, I asked Aaron directly, "I'd prefer if you don't join my client calls unless I invite you. It makes it difficult for me to manage the client relationship." He laughed like I told a cute joke. "I'm not interfering. I'm enhancing the client experience." I said, "I'm not asking. I'm stating a boundary." His expression changed. He said, "You don't have to be threatened. We're all on the same team." I said, "This is not about being threatened. It's about professional boundaries." He said, "Okay, no problem," and walked away. What followed was not no problem. He went cold, not rude, just very obviously passive. If I asked a production question, he would reply to others but not me. If I walked into the kitchen, he walked out. If we were in the same meeting, he only spoke when necessary and didn't look at me. Fine, I can live with that. But then he started doing something worse. He began documenting things. He sent little just to confirm emails, looping our manager in on things that didn't need confirming. Like, just to confirm, the client requested matte laminate instead of gloss, correct? He knew the answer. I had already answered. He just wanted it documented with our manager CCD. It felt like he was trying to build a case that I was sloppy. I kept my head down, documented everything, made sure every spec was precise. But last month, one of my clients emailed the general company inbox instead of me, by mistake. Aaron responded before I saw it, answered incorrectly, and gave them an upcharge quote that didn't exist. The client was confused. The invoice was wrong. Production had to redo a proof. It was messy. I forwarded the thread to our manager and said, "This is why it's important that client communication stays with the assigned account manager." Our manager scheduled a meeting with all 3 of us. Aaron was polite, smiling, calm. He said he was just trying to help and felt like communication flowed better when he supported. I laid out examples, dates, calls, screenshots of him inserting himself, screenshots of messages where I asked for space, the incorrect quote email. Our manager was quiet for a long time. Then she said to Aaron, "You need to step back. Do not join calls you are not invited to. Do not email clients you are not assigned to. Do not correct OP unless asked." He nodded. Too quickly, like someone complying to get the meeting over with. I walked out feeling relief. I thought the tension would fade. It didn't. He avoids me completely now. He does not say good morning. He doesn't look at me in meetings. When we pass in the hallway, he steps aside like I'm radioactive. I can function fine with this. The office isn't high social to begin with, but last Friday I overheard him telling someone in the break room that I am territorial and insecure and that he was punished for trying to improve department quality. Now I'm wondering whether I unnecessarily escalated. If I could have handled it differently, if I made an enemy I didn't need to make. So, ATA for reporting him, knowing it would create lasting tension. Update. 6 weeks later, our manager began sitting in on client calls at random as part of a routine performance review cycle. She sat in on one of Aaron's calls. She messaged me afterward. He interrupts clients mid-sentence. 2 weeks later, Aaron was moved to a different role, internal workflow coordinator. It's still a full-time job, same pay, but no client-facing responsibilities. He does not speak to me at all now, not hostile, just blank. One of the newer account managers told me quietly that the office is calmer. I still don't feel triumphant, just justified and tired. NTA. He was trying to take your authority in client relationships to position himself above you. This was not collaboration, it was encroachment. The passive CCing emails are classic positioning behavior. You did the slow, careful documentation. That's exactly how you handle this. He wasn't helping. He was performing helpfulness. He likely wanted to replace you as lead AM. Your manager seeing it herself changes everything. This is why boundaries need to be stated clearly and early. The new role is appropriate. He can be detail-focused without steamrolling others. You didn't escalate. He escalated by refusing to stop the behavior when asked. Our next story takes place outside the office entirely. The kind of situation where you agree to do a small favor for someone you like, and then realize a few days in that you've accidentally taken on a full-time unpaid job with emotional strings attached. Eita for refusing to keep watching my friend's dog after she extended the trip twice. I, 30F, agreed to watch my friend Lena's, 31F, dog for what was supposed to be a long weekend. I want to preface this by saying I like her dog. He's a sweet, medium-sized rescue named Tucker, who's a little anxious but friendly and gentle. I also want to be clear, I agreed to this. I wasn't forced or tricked. I said yes because I genuinely wanted to help. The original arrangement was simple. Thursday night drop-off pickup. On Monday morning I would feed him, walk him, and he could sleep in my guest room. She would pay me $80 and bring me back some coffee beans from the place she was visiting. Totally fair. I was okay with that. Thursday evening went smoothly. Tucker was a little clingy but sweet. I worked from home Friday, took him for a long walk and everything was fine. Saturday afternoon I got a text from Lena. Hey, flight got delayed, may need to come back Tuesday instead. Is that okay? Not ideal, but I had no urgent conflict. I said sure. She replied, thank you. You're literally saving my life. Tuesday morning comes, no sign of Lena, no message. Around 1 p.m. she texts, okay, so don't kill me, but we extended the trip to Thursday night. It's just been so amazing here, and we're finally unwinding. I read that text 3 times. Not, we are stranded or travel changed on us. Just, they were having a good time. I responded and said I could keep Tucker, but needed to adjust the payment because it was now nearly a full week instead of a weekend. I suggested $150 total. Not crazy. That's still less than any dog sitter in our area. She replied, wait, seriously? I thought you were doing this as a friend. I said, I am doing it as a friend. I'm not asking for market rate, but it's now multiple days of rearranging my schedule, and I want to be compensated fairly. She didn't respond for 4 hours. Then she sent, I just didn't realize money would be a thing between us. That's disappointing. I didn't reply because I was annoyed and didn't want to escalate. Thursday night, 11:24 p.m. She texts, our new flight is tomorrow morning. We land at 2 p.m. Thank you again for watching my little guy. This was now 8 days. I had changed my work schedule twice, missed 2 gym classes I had registered for, and had to move a dinner plan because Tucker has separation anxiety and howls if left alone too long. I told her I needed her to Venmo the updated amount before I brought Tucker to her place. She did not respond. Friday at 1:00 p.m. she texts, we landed, so excited to see my boy. I replied, great, please send the $150 and I'll head over. 2 minutes later, she called me. Not text, call. She opened with, I just think it's really messed up that you're holding my dog hostage. I said very evenly, I am not holding Tucker hostage. I am asking to be paid for 8 days of care that I did not originally agree to. She said, I didn't force you to extend. You said yes. Why are you being transactional? I said, because it has become a transaction. You changed plans multiple times without asking and used my home and time as a convenience. That is literally what compensation is for. She said I was cold, calculating, and treating her like a client instead of a friend. I said friends don't quietly assume free labor. She hung up on me. 5 minutes later, she Venmo'd me $80. The original amount, not the updated one. She sent, here. I hope you feel good. I sent back, I'll bring Tucker in an hour. Please be home. When I got there, she opened the door, took Tucker, didn't look at me, didn't say thank you, didn't ask how he was. She just said, I guess I know where we stand now. I left. I cried in the car. Not because of the money, because of the implication that my boundary made me disloyal. The next day, I talked to 2 mutual friends to reality check myself. One said I should have just let it go because it was only a few extra days. And the other said, Lena has a habit of not considering other people's time, and I probably just experienced what everyone else deals with. So now I'm stuck wondering if I drew the line too late, too early, too sharply, or not sharply enough. I don't feel like I did anything wrong, but the part of me that hates conflict keeps replaying it like I'm the villain. Am I the asshole for insisting she pay more after she extended the dog sitting without asking? NTA. She didn't extend the trip. She used you as a free kennel. The phrase, "I didn't realize money would be a thing between us," always appears right before someone tries to take advantage. You didn't hold the dog hostage. You requested payment for labor she assumed you would just absorb. The fact that she extended multiple times without even checking. First is the entire story. This wasn't friendship. This was entitlement dressed as closeness. You communicated calmly and offered an extremely reasonable rate. She banked on you being too uncomfortable to say no. She's upset not because of the money, but because you interrupted her ability to use you without consequence. This ends friendships, and honestly, it's probably for the best. NTA all the way. AITA for calling the building manager on my neighbor after months of just one more late-night gathering. I, 35 May, live in a mid-sized apartment building, not luxury, not rundown. Decent walls, decent neighbors, mostly young professionals and grad students. I've lived here for 3 years. It's usually quiet after 10 p.m, which I like because I work early and I'm a light sleeper. Back in February, a new neighbor moved into the unit directly below mine. Dylan, 26 Hammam. First impression, friendly, enthusiastic, maybe a little too talkative, but harmless. He came up once when he moved in to introduce himself, said if I ever heard noise to just knock or text bro. He seemed genuine, so I gave him my number. This was, in hindsight, naive optimism. The first couple of weeks, no issues. Then, the third weekend, it started. Music at 12:30 a.m. Not blasting, but enough bass that I could feel it in my floor. I texted, "Can you turn the bass down a bit? Early morning tomorrow." He responded immediately, "Oh man, sorry. Didn't realize it was loud. Totally my bad." Turned it down, apologized. Great, done. If that had been the end of it, we'd be fine. But it became a pattern. Not every night, just often enough that it disrupted my sleep. Wednesday night karaoke with friends at 11:50 p.m. A chill hang that turned into shots and loud laughing until 1:30. Guitar practice at midnight because I finally had inspiration. 2 a.m. loud video calls with his brother who works night shifts, so this is the only time we can talk. Every time I texted politely. Every time he apologized quickly and said, "Thanks for being cool about it. I appreciate your understanding. This won't happen again." But then it would happen again, and again, and again. By June, I had sent him 14 polite, "please keep it down" texts, and I was exhausted. My sleep schedule was wrecked. I started drinking coffee at 5:45 a.m. just to get through mornings. I asked him if we could talk in person. We sat at my dining table. I said, "I understand socializing, I really do, but I need quiet during the week." He nodded earnestly, said he totally gets it, and that he was working on being more mindful. He said he'd get a rug to absorb sound. He said he'd put pads under his speakers. For 2 weeks, it was quiet. I let myself relax. I thought we had worked it out. Then July 4th weekend happened. He had around 15 people over. Loud music, shouting. Someone set off a sparkler inside because I could smell smoke through the vent. It went until 2:45 a.m. I texted twice. No response. I knocked. No answer. It was clear he wasn't checking anything. The next morning I texted, "Can we talk today?" He replied, "Sorry man, long night." Sure. We met in the hallway. I told him calmly that something needed to change permanently, not just temporary courtesy after I complained. I said I'd like him to either plan gatherings earlier or host them at someone else's place. He went quiet, then said, "I feel like you're trying to control how I live in my own home." I said, "I'm not asking you not to live. I'm asking you to respect shared walls." He said, "But I always turn it down when you ask." I said, "Yes, but it keeps happening. I need it not to happen in the first place." He didn't have much to say after that. The conversation ended awkwardly. I told myself I would wait and see. August was okay, not perfect. Minor thumps here and there, but no late-night gatherings. Then in early September at 1:18 a.m. on a Tuesday, I woke up to music again. Not as loud as the party, but very noticeable bass. I didn't text. I didn't knock. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling that heavy, familiar mix of exhaustion and resentment. The next morning, I emailed our building manager. I didn't ask for punishment. I didn't ask for eviction. I just said that I had tried to resolve this directly for months. Here are the dates, here are screenshots of conversations, and I needed the building to step in. The building manager sent Dylan a warning notice and reminded him of quiet hours. At 6:15 p.m. that day, Dylan knocked on my door. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't aggressive. He just looked hurt. He said, "I thought we were cool. You could have just told me." I said, "I did tell you 14 times, and we talked twice. I didn't feel listened to." He said, "I just didn't realize it meant that much to you." I said, "I've been exhausted for months." He said, "So you tattled to the landlord." I said, "I asked the landlord to enforce building policy after trying repeatedly to solve it with you." He just nodded once, said, "Okay," and left. Since then, it's been silent, perfectly silent, absolutely silent. And somehow it feels awful. He avoids me. If I come down the stairs, he waits at the landing until I pass. If we both check mail, he steps aside without making eye contact. If he sees me in the parking lot, he gets into his car quickly and shuts the door. A mutual neighbor told me Dylan said I went behind his back and got him written up. And now I'm the neighbor who can't handle life happening around him. And even though my sleep is better and I have my peace back, now I feel this heavy discomfort every time I walk into the building. I don't know if I did the right thing too late, or in the wrong way, or if there was never a clean solution. A yita for involving the building manager after months of trying to handle it myself. Update, 5 weeks later. Our building manager implemented a new quiet hours policy reminder flyer for the entire complex. It wasn't directed at Dylan specifically, just a general reminder that quiet hours are 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. Gatherings after 10 p.m. should be moved indoors and kept low volume. Repeated complaints may result in fines. I thought this would make things more awkward. It actually had the opposite effect. Multiple neighbors have since mentioned that noise issues in the building have dropped. Last week, I ran into Dylan in the package room. I said, "Hey." He didn't pretend not to hear me this time. He said, "Hey back." It wasn't warm, but it wasn't cold. We probably won't be friends. But coexistence seems possible now, and I sleep. That's all I wanted. NTA, you didn't go straight to management. You exhausted every reasonable step first. This is the textbook example of someone who thinks, "I say sorry equals I fixed it." Noise issues are cumulative fatigue. It's not about one night. It's about months of lost rest. He wasn't respecting your time, sleep, or comfort. He didn't take it seriously until there was a consequence. You didn't demand punishment. You asked for policy enforcement. That's mature. If anything, you were patient to a fault. His discomfort now is the cost of learning boundaries. That isn't on you. Your peace isn't selfish. NTA.